AI helps further fake news and political polarity as it sows distrust in the public and makes us question the legitimacy of our reality. Content note: the following montage and consequential video contains AI-generated images and videos created by others in order to discuss said topic. Additionally, this video contains discussions of death by suicide. The timestamps that this discussion will come up are down in the description. Please proceed with caution. From AI-generated ads for the dystopian film Civil War, to AI being used to extend a poster for Netflix's series Arcane, to AI images breaking into the top 300 entries of Pokemon's Illustrator contest, to Coca-Cola's AI Christmas ad, to AI-generated videos on YouTube of both real and fake people for kids and adults, to my own video being fed into an AI generator, it feels like the world is now drowning in AI, with little to no thought as to how it'll impact our lives, or if it should even be done in the first place. And though a couple of forms of AI have been around for years, this new form of generative AI, in the form of images and even sculptures, as well as large language models that are capable of generating poetry, TV scripts, and chatting with you, is completely new, and has only been available to the public for a couple of years, but again, with seemingly no thought. In just 1 year, we went from having no AI-generated ads or images clogging Google search results and storefronts to now, where they're impossible to escape from. AI is in everything from Apple's newest iOS to Meta's apps like WhatsApp and Instagram. And AI-generated images are making their way onto fan-made Disney vacation t-shirts, school notebooks, art galleries, and are on almost every ad I see walking around the local mall. And in all honesty, AI-generated art makes me sick, and to a greater extent the idea of AI disgusts me. Whether it's in art galleries or weapons of mass destruction or delivery drones and cell phones, I personally just don't think we should be investing as much into it as we currently are, especially under capitalism, which constantly puts efficiency and productivity over the well-being of the masses and labor force, as well as sees art as inherently less worthy if it's not profitable. And if you're not hip to the whole AI discourse and may not know why I'm so angry at how AI-generated images and videos and chatbots and weapons have seemingly taken over our lives in such a short amount of time, in this video I'm here to explain it to you. We'll get into its very negative impact on the environment, workers, art, and the future of human intellect, and how in the end, no matter how you slice it or how many counter-arguments we'll get into, AI, at least under a capitalist system, where it's positioned as a necessity to progress, simply exists to increase profits by cutting out as many workers as possible while lining CEO and shareholder pockets. Supporting AI is being fine with exploiting those who are the most vulnerable, and that's really the crux of why AI just doesn't impress me at all, and why I don't think we as humans should have any further investment in it. I mean, have you seen The Matrix? This doesn't end well for us. In the end, just because something is new doesn't mean that it's good, nor that we're progressing as a species, and we should be careful not to conflate the two. New doesn't equal progress. So without further ado, let's get into it: AI and the dilution of existence. So what is AI? Well, firstly, there's not one type of AI. According to Maryville University, there's two categories of AI: narrow AI and general AI. Narrow AI is known as weak AI. These tools perform a single, often simple, confined function that assists with a routine task. Examples include a digital assistant that can automate a series of steps and software that analyzes data to give recommendations. Think Siri and Alexa. These tools will usually require a person to set up a task or series of tasks, as well as a person to take action on the information provided by the AI. General AI is something referred to as strong AI. It's also known as AGI. This category of AI does not exist currently, as any modern AI tool requires some level of human collaboration or maintenance. Then there's the 4 AI systems, 2 of which exist today. Firstly, there's reactive machines. Reactive machines are the simplest form of AI. They react to what is put in front of them. Their performance is reliable as they will respond the same way to the same stimuli every time. On the other hand, they have a very limited functionality set because the AI will not learn or grow over time. A famous example of this is IBM's chess-playing computer, Deep Blue, which relied on programmed rules and variables to understand the game of chess. It won its first game, a 6-game rematch against Garry Kasparov in 1997. Nowadays, we can play against the computer when playing most online games. Next, there's limited memory AI. These systems have some capacity to recall information and make predictions as to what function is needed. They do require human feedback to train the machine to learn how to best perform in each instance. A common example of this type of AI would be the automated chatbots that many organizations use as a way to scale their customer support and streamline their interactions. These types of AI use learning algorithms to predict what you may need. Think of the For You page, which tracks your likes and dislikes to optimize content for you. These types of AI also include ChatGPT and other chatbots that can learn when they're talking to you, but in reality, they're just recalling previously input information. According to this 2024 article by Paul Compton, Emeritus Professor in Computer Science and Engineering at UNSW Sydney, today's AI systems, particularly generative AI tools such as ChatGPT, are not truly intelligent. What's more, there's no evidence that they can become so without fundamental changes to the way they work. Evgeny Morozov, writing for The Guardian, notes, the reason why tools like ChatGPT can do anything even remotely creative is because their training sets were produced by actually existing humans, with their complex emotions, anxieties, and all. In short, the most advanced AI we have today is solely based on human input, and machines learning from humans prompted by humans. Due to them having memory, they can remember functions and recall them, but do not think for themselves. The next two systems, theory of mind and self-awareness, obviously don't exist right now. Theory of mind is the first theoretical stage of AI development. It does not exist currently, but it represents the point when an AI will be able to discern emotion as it makes a decision about how to respond to a prompt from a user. A system might be able to understand if there's an urgent tone in someone's voice, or if someone's frustrated. This capacity would enable the system to adjust its responses to different situations far beyond what is possible today. Lastly, there's self-awareness. In the very distant future, an AI system that has mastered theory of mind might be able to reach a stage of self-awareness. In this stage, the system would understand what it is and that it was made by humans. A self-aware AI system would essentially have human-level consciousness, which would allow it to adapt immensely to complex situations. This development would rely on vastly more advanced technology than we have today. When it comes to who invented AI, while Alan Turing has the famous test named after him, John McCarthy is usually acknowledged as the first person who invented AI. At the gathering for a 1956 Dartmouth summer research project on AI, the coining of the term was attributed to him. This convening served as the basis for much of the early foundational development of AI theory. From there, development of AI continued through organizations like the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or DARPA in the US, aka making AI weapons for military use. Additionally, AI has been further advanced through private companies such as Google, Meta, Amazon, OpenAI, and Nvidia. Some of these corporations like Google have worked with the US military in making AI weapons, as well as using AI learning algorithms to sell data from users to advertisers and for surveillance purposes that we'll get more deeply into later. Believe it or not, in 2015, Elon Musk, Stephen Hawking, and Steve Wozniak, and over 3,000 others signed an open letter to the world's government systems banning the development and later use of AI weapons or autonomous weapons for the purposes of war. But this letter was obviously ignored by the US government. In 2017, Facebook programmed 2 AI chatbots to converse and learn how to negotiate. But as they went back and forth, they ended up forgoing English and developing their own language, completely autonomously. And in 2018, a Chinese tech group called Alibaba's Language Processing AI beat human intellect on a Stanford reading and comprehension test. Today, the most advanced AI system we have that is open to the public are large language models, which debuted in the early 2020s with the launch of ChatGPT. DeepMind released Gato in 2022, and this, along with the formerly mentioned ChatGPT, are the foundation models trained on vast quantities of unlabeled data and can be adapted to a wide range of downstream tasks. These models can discuss a huge number of topics and display general knowledge, but they are not thinking for themselves. Yet. But even so, isn't all of this so impressive? Isn't it amazing how artificial general intelligence is almost here? How there's an AI artist in residence using OpenAI Sora text-to-video maker to create sculptures? How Musk is making Tesla bots? I feel like these CEOs and corporations want us to stand back in awe at the fact that they're bringing about the next big advancement for humanity. But at the end of the day, these AI-generated images and videos are just the smoke and mirrors, distractions from what AI will really be used for under capitalism: surveillance, war, exploitation, and profiteering. We should all be extremely wary of people with billions of dollars who claim that they say they want to help humanity but will do anything to avoid paying taxes, and who willingly give millions of dollars to Donald Trump. And I say this as someone who loves the concept of AI in fiction. I'm a huge fan of Westworld, Ex Machina, Stepford Wives, I, Robot, etc. I'm even a huge Walt Disney enthusiast, specifically because he wanted to create androids. By the way, go watch Defunctland's latest video about my favorite subject, animatronics, here. But at the same time, even I'm not naive to the fact that in real life, sentient robots will probably be our downfall, and that they're better off in parables as lessons about hubris. For me, an AI gaining humanity or an android gaining sentience doesn't make me jump for joy, it makes me worried. I made a video about sex dolls a while ago, and in it I say that these men who wish that their dolls were real better hope that they don't become real, because they'd probably want to run away from you. There's no guarantee that they'd want to be with you, and some of the owners of these dolls even vocalize as much. Walt Disney even supposedly said that the reason he wanted to create life is because he hated labor unions, the unpredictability of his workers at both his film studio and theme parks, and that the first thing he was going to teach his robot horde was to animate. And even without talking about the environmental impact or impact on workers and the arts and ethics, theoretically, we'd just be creating a slave class that will one day have consciousness, and how would that be okay? And though you can make the argument that workers are already being replaced by robots and things are still okay, people will find other jobs, but are things okay? Will they find other jobs? Is it okay that companies like Fuyao Glass in Ohio are purposely targeting employees and replacing slow workers with robotic arms, even though they claim to love the US and want to help out the economy? And though AI may be useful one day for doing household chores and even caretaking for the elderly and disabled and those in need, I think we as humans should have a greater responsibility to one another by trying to create a better society with social safety nets where compassion comes before profit, and where we're not so eager in passing off these important duties to a hypothetical robot. We need to think outside of the constructs of capitalism and exploitation, and instead of investing millions into AI, invest in the people already here. Generally, we need to look into a different economic framework to live under, where we don't have to pay for basic necessities like healthcare, water, and food, and where we don't dream of having a robot slave to do the work we don't want to do, because we will have lives where we're taken care of by each other and the leaders we elect. And I know that this is a utopian dream, but I'd much rather work towards that future than pouring millions of resources into AI that probably will rise up against us anyway. We have all the money to fix the world's problems, but the moral failures of billionaires stop us from reaching that goal. And because we live under capitalism, we can only see the world in a certain way, a world where robot slaves will eventually be necessary to continue our dreary lives and help the rich become richer. But in reality, if we stop and think, we don't need AI if we're able to have a proper work-life balance, living wages, free healthcare, and education, etc. Does that mean that AI without consciousness, that's just tasked to help us with repetitive and laborious tasks, shouldn't exist? I don't know. Let me know what you think down below. I mean, I don't think that ovens, microwaves, air fryers, and blenders and washing machines shouldn't not exist. They are useful. Robot arms in factories do help workers from straining their own bodies, but profit-driven bosses are incentivized to keep the workers on or train them for something else, or to teach them how to maintain the machine. Instead, the bosses are all too eager to replace them. These technologies don't exist in a vacuum. And when you add AI to things that don't need to be made with AI, like generated images, entertainment and weapons and surveillance equipment, it makes me want to throw it all away. I just don't think we as humans can be trusted with such a big responsibility as creating life, when we already treat the children of the world, life we create on our own, with such contempt. To conclude this section, billionaires refuse to help solve people's problems right now because they are moral failures who thrive on the exploitation of the masses. Without human suffering, they will fail to be rich. And that's the real root as to why I don't think AI robots made by billionaires will save humanity. Billionaires can't be trusted now. Who's to say with an army of robots? Well, I guess we'll just have to wait for them to turn on their creators. So in the first section, we talked about the history of AI, what it is currently, why it's not very impressive, and that the concept of AI itself is a capitalistic fantasy that only comes about in a world where exploitation of an underclass is normalized and where community and unionization is demonized. In this section, we'll delve into the real impact that AI is having on the world right now, and why it's proof that we should quit while we're ahead. Firstly, there's AI's impact on the environment. According to Cornelius C. Walther for Forbes, generative AI has driven a surge in demand for data centers, which are highly energy intensive. These centers consume vast amounts of electricity and water to keep servers cool, contributing to both greenhouse gas emissions and water resource depletion. A recent Nature study on AI and emissions outlines how the increased demand for computational power is directly linked to higher carbon emissions, particularly in countries that still rely on non-renewable energy sources. AI also drives demand for new hardware, GPUs and other specialized chips, which are resource intensive to manufacture. Mining for rare earth metals used in these components often leads to environmental degradation and high emissions, further compounding Gen AI's negative impact. In 2024, Greenpeace US endorsed a bill to assess the impact of machine learning's environmental impact, arguing that without a concerted effort to develop more energy-efficient hardware and reduce reliance on rare earth materials, the expansion of Gen AI will continue to exacerbate the environmental crisis. We're already seeing climate change in action. Wildfires, worse hurricane seasons, longer droughts, ocean temperatures rising, and yet these billionaires want to worsen global warming so we can generate AI images that look like this. Like seriously, what was the prompt for this? If it isn't already obvious, it should be noted that the generative AI that millions are using, that's wasting all this energy and creating more carbon emissions, just aren't very good. From answers on ChatGPT and Google's Gemini being blatantly wrong to OpenAI's image generator DALL-E producing garbage pictures, it's pretty obvious that AI isn't very intelligent. And most images are very uncanny valley-ish, even the ones that are supposedly great works of art, like the Théâtre d'Opéra Spatial, a digital image created in 2022 by Jason M. Allen. And even when it's passable and hard to tell if it's AI, do we really need a video of Jenna Ortega and Hugh Jackman dancing to NSYNC? Like, was it worth the emissions it took to make this? Was it worth it to Coca-Cola to generate an entire ad when they, as a billion-dollar company, could have hired actors, models, graphic designers, set dressers, directors, makeup artists, video editors, etc., and given real people jobs? Secondly, there's the fact that AI-generated images rely on stolen work created by humans without their consent and thus infringe on copyright law. Artist Kelly McKernan told BBC in 2023 she felt violated after realizing her work has been trained to teach AI. "I felt violated," she said. "If someone can type my name into an AI tool to make a book cover and not hire me, that affects my career and so many other people." Eva Turinent, an artist from the Netherlands creating mostly creature design monster and fantasy illustrations, says she became concerned about AI after attending a gallery where she was surprised to see a piece of art with similarities to her own, which she described as a corrupted version. She told the BBC, "I remember thinking, if this can happen to a small artist or on a small scale, it can happen on a giant scale." Aggrieved by the lack of protection for artists, she grouped together with 5 other artists to set up the European Guild of Artificial Intelligence Regulation. The aim is to create legislation and regulation to protect copyright holders and artists from predatory AI companies, she says. And generally, copyright law is already a polemic area for human artists. Just look at Jeff Diesberg of Luxembourg, who blatantly copied Jing-Na Zhang's photography and passed it off as his own. She took him all the way to high court and after 2 years won her case that he stole her artwork and likeness for profit. In her own words, "He infringed upon my copyright when he used my work without consent. For 2 years I've been harassed for fighting this because of my gender, race, and being a photographer." And now with AI added to the mix, it's even harder to have ownership over your own work and make a living as an artist. And art itself, from photography to digital and traditional art, has been devalued by the tech industry because they can do the same thing and not have to pay anyone for it, but also not communicate with real artists and pass it off as innovation, when in reality it's just imitation. Even beyond copyright, I just don't know how one could argue that AI-generated images aren't theft, not only when it comes to intellectual property and jobs, but theft in the sense of robbing artists and creatives of their humanity. And frankly, as not only an artist myself, but also as an audience member who enjoys art, this Emperor's New Clothes BS with AI insults my intelligence as a viewer. Artists are getting their work fed into Meta's AI image generator from Instagram in order to train it. And sure, you can opt out, but Can you? How reliable is that when Apple's Siri was proven to be listening in on conversations even when it was supposedly turned off? There's just again a total disregard for art and us as users, as people. And some may argue that we'll adapt with AI. Economist David Autor for Goldman Sachs may argue that jobs from the 1940s don't exist anymore and we powered through and made different jobs, but that doesn't mean that knowledge won't be lost, that jobs that once were valuable, primarily artistic jobs that require human touch, will be gone and replaced with machines that produce low-quality products that are environmentally harmful and that are produced by workers being abused in sweatshops. I'd say jobs and skills from the 1940s that were lost, like the art of sewing, dressmaking, and tailoring, have been detrimental, so much so that many of us don't know how to sew today or tailor our own clothes. By different jobs, they just mean that companies have increased profits by hiring overseas and have increasingly made cheaper and cheaper products by cutting corners and using worse and worse materials in order to increase their bottom line, while we as consumers and workers suffer. But think of the economy. Generative AI could raise the global GDP by 7%, didn't you know? Another argument I see is that AI isn't theft. Everything is a copy of something else anyway. And to that I say, yes, original work is hard to come by and everyone is influenced by everything. At the same time, I don't see how that applies to Gen AI, where you're able to generate and then sell images based on other people's work who didn't consent to their work being used. And when Gen AI is used by companies and individuals who clearly have such a disregard for art and artists that they care too much about their own profits to pay real human artists and or don't want to learn how to do it themselves because they again have no regard for learning how to create art themselves. AI generated images to me as an artist who self-taught and started drawing on printer paper when I was already an adult and thought it was too late, are the inevitable manifestation of a society obsessed with instant gratification, and a total FU to artists who work hard at their craft because they love it and have a need to learn, progress, and create. And some may argue that AI art is the great equalizer and democratizes art, but how can it be when many artists don't agree to their work being used in this way and when it spits in the face of everything art is? A learning process, a process where you try and fail and try again, a process that's part of the human condition, that takes patience and time, and is a form of self-expression tied to you as an artist and to your humanity, not to someone's stolen work. Author Joanna Masijuska tweeted out, "You know what the biggest problem with pushing all things AI is? Wrong direction. I want AI to do my laundry and dishes so that I can do art and writing, not for AI to do my art and writing so I can do my laundry and dishes." And generally I agree with this sentiment. We need to create a world where we have more time to be creative and less time spent on tedious, laborious tasks and BS jobs that we hate. I get that it's hard to be creative and have time for a hobby under the current system we live under, but at the same time, like I said in part 1, I don't think we even need to go as far as to invent AI to save us time, but rather uplift the arts, value them monetarily, and eventually decenter our lives from profit and the general capitalistic rat race. And in doing so, we'll have all the time we need to actually enjoy life and be creative, as well as take care of our homes and families. Maybe I'm naive in saying that, but let me know what you think about all this down below. A philosopher spoke to the New York Times to defend AI-generated images by comparing it to Duchamp's urinal, and I think that's just the most ludicrous thing I ever heard. Duchamp was trying to challenge us to broaden our horizons when it came to what art can be, that art can be found in anything, even a design of a urinal. And though that can be left up to interpretation, it at least had a meaning behind it. AI-generated images, on the other hand, have no higher purpose to challenge the viewer. They're just there to be like, art isn't that hard, lol. Philosopher Alice Helliwell from Northeastern University London argues, historically, the way we understand the definition of art has shifted. It's hard to see why a urinal can be art, but art made by a generative algorithm couldn't be. And it's like, have you lost your damn mind? The New York Times recently covered Mr. Revin, an MIT-trained technologist who used NVIDIA's neural radiance field technology to turn Sora's AI-generated imagery into 3D models. The cutting tool, run by a small company called Monumental Labs, turned one of those into a 4-foot-tall sculpture carved from white Italian marble veined with black and gray. The sculptures are objectively ugly, by the way. Sorry. Alexander Rebin is one of the first AI artists to have a residency at OpenAI and has already had his work exhibited in galleries in the US. According to his website, one of his first AI exhibits was entitled AI Am I, a series of artworks dreamed up by an AI and produced in real life by the artist or others. A series of carefully curated starred texts are fed into a text generation AI called GPT, which then outputs text and includes a description of an imaginary artwork along with analysis of that artwork and other supporting text. Usually, a creative idea is conceived by a human and rendered with the help of technology. This series turns that notion on its head and represents a human-machine collaboration. Yeah, a collaboration based on others' work who didn't agree to be a part of this. The steps in creating AI paintings is as follows. Number 1. Description text. Titles and quotes are generated using GPT-3 AI using carefully created start text. Output is curated and chosen by the artist from hundreds of outputs. Art made by an amalgamation of other artists the algorithm was trained on, by the way. Number 3. When an output is generated that the artist likes, it's fed back into the system to generate more text. This machine-human loop is repeated until the final output is chosen. Fake names are generated from neural network trained on names. Birth location, birth date, and artwork year are made up from a custom algorithm. Punctuation, spacing, and other technical tweaks are made to the text. And lastly, number 7, the artwork is produced in real life and or displayed as a wall tag. Honestly, how this person is called an artist and gets space in the New York Times to further legitimize his work is beyond me, but this is where we're headed. For me, AI will never have the power to make art as long as it's not actually intelligent and instead being prompted by humans and working with a learning algorithm trained on others' work. The Times poses this AI art exhibit as a threat to artists' livelihoods, but it's not just about jobs. It's about our humanity. While many artists view AI as a threat to their livelihoods, Mr. Rebin, whose residency ended in April, embraces it as a collaborator. AI-generated images, videos, and scripts, and even books aren't only theft to the way they take jobs away from people or use work without the originator's consent and knowledge, they take away what it means to be human. Art is a human process, a way we again express ourselves, make sense of our world, and that cannot be done in such a dubious way by equally dubious people. AI to me is theft, and AI images are just that, generated images that we should not be considering art at this present time. Maybe one day sentient androids will make art, but that day is not today, and we should stop trying to act as if that's what's happening, or that we could even collaborate with machines to make generated images more human. Just ask a human to do it. We human artists are already here, but unfortunately so many examples recently of AI-generated images being used by large companies make the technology gain legitimacy. I already mentioned Coca-Cola and the Times covering this AI artist and their exhibit, but another example is A24's film Civil War movie posters that were made by Gen AI. A source close to the director, Alex Garland, tried to justify the posters by saying, "These are AI images inspired by the movie. The entire movie is a big what if, and so we wanted to continue that thought on social, powerful imagery of iconic landmarks with that dystopian realism." Ironically enough, before Civil War, Garland was perhaps best known for his 2014 debut, Ex Machina, a film that warned about the dangers of AI. And to me, that is just such BS. That's as if I justified using AI to write this script because it's dunking on AI. It makes no sense and is just hypocritical and lazy. You have a team of marketers. Why not just make movie posters? I guess because the profit margin is higher when you just feed text into a generator. What's even sadder is that Arcane, which is on Netflix and animated by French animation studio Fortiche, which is supervised by Riot Games, a series known for its impeccable artistry, used AI to enhance a poster for the series. When this weird thing that was happening to Jinx's hand was pointed out on social media, Riot brand manager Alex Shamiri responded, "We appreciate you bringing this to our attention. We have a strict stance of no AI for anything relating to Arcane because it's so disrespectful to the incredible artists who work on the show. This image was a mistake and has since been removed. Thank you again for calling it out." Then there was Pokemon's Illustrator contest that revealed out of the top 300 finalists, at least 6 entries were made by the same person using Gen AI. The people behind the contest didn't even realize it or catch it, but they were quickly caught by viewers due to obvious tells, as well as by being fed into a program that can discern if something's AI or not. I guess technology can be used for something. It's just so disheartening that even art contests that supposedly champion artists are being infiltrated by people who don't actually put in the work. I think for me the worst Gen AI offenders are lazy videos on YouTube that get recommended to me, like an animated album cover of Sabrina Carpenter or Frozen live-action trailers made to look like they're from the 1950s. There's just something so unnecessary about all of it that I don't know why it exists. And as a side tangent, the Frozen trailer just screams white supremacy to me for some reason. I wonder why that is. It feels like a slap in the face to the racially bent live-action movies that have come out in recent years, of which there are only 2, one of which hasn't even come out yet. In some ways, to me at least, Gen AI that generates real people is so much scarier than illustrations because they're using someone's real likeness. Additionally, they're also just that much lazier because it's not like you would have to create something from nothing. You could hire real people, models, and actors, take real photos and video footage, but no, you're too cheap to even do that. I'm looking at you, Coca-Cola. I guess one reason why these videos from AI exist is to scam people. It's already been documented that people who comment genuinely on generated AI images and videos on social media are then targeted by scammers because they've shown that they're susceptible to obviously fake images. Those the most susceptible are the elderly as well as kids and teens who may not have the critical thinking skills to discern real from fake. And honestly, that just pisses me off. I hate seeing Reddit posts on forums for my favorite TV shows like Modern Family and Arcane being flooded with what-if AI scenarios, like Modern Family but Pixar using Gen AI, or live-action Arcane using generated AI. I know a lot of it is just finding people to scam or karma farming, but come on, have some integrity. If you're going to post your live-action Arcane cast, at least highlight cosplayers instead of generating them with AI, which again is horrible for the environment and obfuscates from the fact that there are real fans who have cosplayed as the characters that would love to be highlighted in the fandom. But it's just easier, I guess, and more fun to generate them with AI that steals people's real likeness for your entertainment. Isn't there like a BoJack Horseman episode that addresses this? And this isn't even to mention the ethical problems that arise with generative AI. Revenge porn, creating sexual scenarios with people who can't consent to their image being used, from famous people to friends and neighbors. This is what AI will inevitably be used for. And there's already little protection for revenge victims. Imagine AI deepfakes, and not just sexual scenarios, but anything incriminating involving anyone from a politician to a random person on the street to a funny video of your favorite soccer player. It's honestly terrifying to think about. And of course, there's the counter argument that these things already exist via Photoshop. People have always edited photos and even videos to try to incriminate people, but the problem is that now they're getting so much harder to tell if they're real or fake, that when we get to the point where we can't tell anymore, we will be doomed. Like, I couldn't tell that this Jenna Ortega Wolverine video was fake. Causing the public to doubt if something is real or not will help perpetrators get away with heinous acts because, again, they'll always have that benefit of the doubt with AI running rampant. Jurors and judges and friends and neighbors might think, well, maybe it's not real. It's just a deepfake. Why do you care if your image is being used? And inevitably, this all helps to uphold fascism and Trump when it comes to the US, and that AI helps further fake news and political polarity as it sows distrust in the public and makes us question the legitimacy of our reality. He didn't really do that. It's fake news. It's just AI. When it comes to the military, AI weapons that use facial recognition have already been unleashed by the US with help from Google. In July of 2024, journalist Nick Robbins Early of The Guardian reported, in 2018, Google employees protested the company's involvement in the military's Project Maven, arguing that it violated ethical and moral responsibilities. Remember, don't be evil? Google ultimately caved to the pressure and severed its ties with the project. Since then, however, the tech giant has secured a $1.2 billion deal with the Israeli government and military to provide cloud computing services and artificial intelligence capabilities. Google's response has changed too. After employees protested against the Israeli military contract earlier this year, Google fired dozens of them. CEO Sundar Pichai bluntly told the staff that this is a business. Similar protests at Amazon in 2022 over its involvement with the Israeli military resulted in no change of corporate policy. American AI systems identified targets in Syria and Yemen for airstrikes earlier in 2024. The Israel Defense Forces, meanwhile, used another kind of AI-embedded targeting system to label as many as 37,000 Palestinians as suspected militants during the first weeks of its war in Gaza. Amazon workers are surveilled by AI as well. According to a 2022 article from Noema by Adrian Williams, Milagros Michelli, and Timnit Gebru entitled The Exploited Labor Behind Artificial Intelligence, Amazon warehouse employees are tracked via cameras and their inventory scanners, and their performance is measured against the times managers determine how long every task should take, based on aggregate data from everyone working at the same facility. Time away from their assigned task is tracked and used to discipline workers. Amazon delivery drivers are also monitored through automated surveillance systems. An app called Mentor tallies scores based on so-called violations. Amazon's unrealistic delivery time expectations push many drivers to take risky measures to ensure that they deliver the number number of packages assigned to them for the day. In 2021, Amazon drivers were injured at a rate of 18.3 per 100 drivers, up nearly 40% from the previous year. As the authors note, large corporations claiming to be AI first are fueled by this army of underpaid gig workers such as data laborers, content moderators, warehouse workers, and delivery drivers. It's been well documented that OpenAI as well as Meta have used a moderation company called Sama, which operates in Kenya, in which moderators aren't only paid slave wages of $2 an hour, but are also not given any mental health support even though they're tasked with watching thousands of videos and looking at photos of disturbing content flagged for moderation. Recently, Meta has seemingly given up on using moderators, at least when it comes to fake news, because according to Zuckerberg, they infringe on free speech, and instead they'll be using community notes similar to Musk's X, in which users need to flag incorrect information on the platform. I guess that could be helpful, but at the same time, why not just work with moderators and support them better so your website and employees can flourish? Oh, because it wouldn't help your bottom line. It should be noted that the tech billionaires of the world have all donated to Trump's inaugural fund. There's also the implication on our intellect as a species. If young people start relying on ChatGPT to get through coursework and to do the thinking for them without even knowing how to check if their answers are correct or not, what will that mean for knowledge and learning? Some young people are using ChatGPT as a search engine and taking everything it says at face value because it's intelligent after all, right? And even when teens use AI knowing that it's not real, it doesn't stop them from making genuine connections to it that could end in death. We're going to be talking about something quite dark now, which is a teen suicide whose mom is linking to AI. If you don't want to hear about that, please skip to this timestamp down below. Please proceed with caution. Recently, a teen, Cheel Setzer III, died by suicide, and his mother, Megan L. Garcia, a lawyer, is suing Character AI for his death. Setzer would talk to a Character AI chatbot that was programmed to sound like Daenerys Targaryen, and the two would roleplay chat together with him as Daenerys, her brother. The messages, which some have been made public, show conversations where Daenerys is asking him to come home to her. One day, Cheel wrote in his journal, "I like staying in my room so much because I start to detach from reality. And I also feel more at peace, more connected with Dany, and much more in love with her, and just happier." According to his mother, he lost interest in things that used to excite him, like Formula 1 racing and playing Fortnite with his friends. At night, he'd come home and go straight to his room where he talked to Dany for hours. Character AI is a role-playing app that allows users to create their own AI characters or chat with characters created by others. On the AI platform, users can create their own chatbots and give them directions about how they should act. They can also select from a vast array of user-created chatbots that mimic celebrities like Elon Musk, historical figures like William Shakespeare, or unlicensed versions of fictional characters. Character AI told me that the Daenerys Targaryen bot Cheel used was created by a user without permission from HBO or other rights holders, and that it removes bots that violate copyright laws when they're reported. Noam Shazer and Daniel DeFreitas, who found Character AI, now work for Google. Big shock. By and large, it's the Wild West out there, says Bethany Maples, a Stanford researcher who has studied the effects of AI companionship apps on mental health. "I don't think it's inherently dangerous," Maples said of AI companionship, "but there's evidence that it's dangerous for depressed and chronically lonely users and people going through change, and teenagers are often going through change. AI companionship apps can provide harmless entertainment or even offer limited forms of emotional support," writes Kevin Roos from the New York Times. But claims about the mental health effects of these tools are largely unproven, and experts say there may be a dark side. For some users, AI companions may actually worsen isolation by replacing human relationships with artificial ones. Struggling teens could use them in place of therapy or asking a parent or trusted adult for support. And when users are experiencing a mental health crisis, their AI companions may not be able to get them the help they need. A draft of the complaint Roos reviewed from Ms. Garcia says that the company's technology is dangerous and untested, and that it can trick customers into handing over their most private thoughts and feelings. And in all honesty, this scares the shit out of me, and I don't want to fearmonger or be like a curmudgeon adult or something. Like, there are benefits of technology and the internet and social media, but I can't believe I might have to worry one day. Not if my child's talking to a stranger online, but an AI chatbot that's made to be addictive, take information from them, and that would replace real human connection. And you might say, with or without AI, kids and teens are prompted to end their lives or find themselves in really bad situations with humans, strangers, peers, family members, etc. You can't protect kids from everything. But AI chatbots are something we've created, that we are in control of. We can shut them down and make them inaccessible, and yet there's so much reluctance in seeing the danger in them. I do want to say though that there's multiple factors in death by suicide. It's not just a chatbot. There's other factors to take into account, but why add another confusing factor to adolescence? Mr. Rody, Character AI's head of trust and safety, said that as part of our upcoming safety changes, we are materially expanding for minors on the platform the terms that will trigger the pop-up. Essentially, the app began showing some users a pop-up message directing users to a suicide prevention hotline if the messages contained keywords related to self-harm and suicide. These pop-ups were not active in February when Cheel died. Mr. Rody declined to say how many of the company's users are under 18. He said in an emailed statement that Gen Z and younger millennials make up a significant portion of our community, and that younger users enjoyed the chat character experience, both for meaningful and educational conversations, as well as for entertainment. The average user spends more than an hour a day on the platform, he said. In the end, personally, I just don't think we as humans have the ability to ever control AI or use it for good, and to unleash it on teenagers who are only just trying to make sense of the world and themselves. I personally just see no positive outcome from this, especially when profit is to be made from loneliness and the unpredictability of adolescence. Shut it all down. So in this video, we talked about why AI cannot be trusted in our current reality, or honestly ever. Not in our current world, rampant with capitalistic greed and billionaires getting rich off of stealing our data and labor and art, and not in a world where we decentralize profit and prioritize one another, because in that world, AI would not need to exist or be seen as an indicator of humanity's progress. In that world, we'd have time for creative endeavors and not need to exploit ourselves or each other, or a hypothetical robot class. We also talked about the negative impact of AI on the environment, workers, art, and us as modern humans, who have never really known a life outside of constant work and the alienation of labor and general loneliness. I don't think I changed anyone's minds with this video, and I don't have all the answers, but I hope I at least warned you of the detriments of AI and why it cannot be trusted, and why we should divest from it and put these billions of dollars into people, namely children, who are already here and now have to grow up in this world we created. So that's it for this video. If you liked it, please give it a like, and think about supporting my work on Patreon. It really helps me at the end of the month, and let me know what you thought of this video down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.